All right. I'm Thomas Rayner. I'm a senior security service engineer at Microsoft, and I was going to show you an encryption module that I wrote, but it looks a lot similar to the demonstration Larry did. So, real quick, I had an unencrypted file and a certificate, and then I protected that with the certificate, and all of a sudden it was encrypted and impossible to read. Then you could unencrypt it, and it's back to plain text. But I'm not going to show you that. I'm going to instead show you something that's equally on brand for me, but it doesn't have a ton to do with PowerShell. And it's a Visual Studio Code extension that I wrote for a session I did for the Dutch PowerShell user group. And it's called Insert Cat Fact. And so I'm in VS Code, and I'm just executing this command. I did Control-Shift-P, and the extension that I wrote adds this cat facts command, which inserts a random cat fact. You can get it from the store, and you can watch everything with how I built it here. I'll go through it a little. This is an hour and 15 minutes. I'll keep it shorter than that for you guys. But on the Dutch PowerShell user group channel, I go through it in excruciating detail, building the thing end to end. But the punchline is, if you know PowerShell, you're vaguely familiar, at least, with object-oriented programming languages, which PowerShell is. VS Code extensions are written in TypeScript, and so it's just another object-oriented language. And so that knowledge that you've already built writing PowerShell, along with the API, the extension API documents that tell you how to interact with VS Code, means that you can publish your extension into the Visual Studio Marketplace as well. So I'll take you on a quick tour of the code and what that looks like. VS Code modules have a whole bunch of files that come with them, but you don't really, VS Code extensions have a whole bunch of different files that come with them, but you only need to edit a couple to get going. The first is this package.json, and I just gave it a name. I said exactly what it does. I even got an icon for it. Thank you to Adil for creating my custom icon. That icon was this cat facts thing. And then I tell it what commands I'm exposing. So I'm exposing this, or I'm contributing this insert cat fact command. That's what came up when I went Control-Shift-P, and that's where this list comes from. And then there's in the source folder, this is the code that my extension actually performs. This is the actual functional code. So if this package.json was like a PSD1 for a module that describes kind of the metadata about your PowerShell module, this describes the metadata for my Visual Studio Code extension. Then this extension.ts is the actual like .psm one, or the code that's actually being executed and run. So this is TypeScript. It looks a little different than you're used to seeing in PowerShell, but I'm basically exposing I'm importing a module. I'm importing the VS Code module, and I'm importing this other thing called Axios, which makes doing web calls easier, like HTTP GETs. And then I've got this URL that I can hit, which is super handy. If you, oops, to that URL, it gives you back a cat fact. So that's what's doing all the heavy lifting here. When my function is activated, I register this this cat facts command, and first things first, I have to find where the cursor is, and then I do a get on that URL to retrieve my fact, and then I edit the VS Code window. I edit the active text editor and insert at wherever the cursor is one of these facts. And then that's really the entire thing. From there, you have like just a change log and a README and things like that. But you package this up and you push it to the VS Code marketplace, and then anybody can install your super handy dandy catfax module, which I think is way better than like lorem ipsum or something, or just any regular text filler that you might need to use. So yeah, I would encourage you to check out the code. I'm accepting pull requests if you want to add other APIs or other catfact related commands, or talk to me on Twitter at Mr. Thomas Rayner about VS Code or PowerShell or C# or TypeScript or any cool stuff like that. And then if you wanted to actually know more about developing VS Code extensions, you can watch this video at the Dutch PowerShell user group channel or chat me up about it. Otherwise, I know it wasn't super PowerShell-y showing you all of this today, but I didn't want to step on Larry's toes there with my extension module.
I thought that was super cool, and I'm glad that you got to share it with our group, because that was a good talk, because I participated in that before, and that was really a really good interesting thing, because we should all be using VS Code, and it's good to see that it's possible to actually add to the value of VS Code by adding your own extensions.
If this was you can totally do. There you go. It works in whatever different language provider you want. So you can use it in your PowerShell scripts all the time.
Super powerful.
Real quick, I know we're not doing a lot of questions, but just because I know the answer, is it possible to create an extension that's private only, not in the marketplace? Yes. You can also add it to the marketplace and make it private within there and only expose it to certain organizations. But when you build these things, you get a VSIX, a V6 package, and you can sideload those into VS Code. You can, where is it? I don't want to fumble looking for it too long, but there's a load extension from file that you can do, Pete, and you can load in whatever was just built. And you can do that from the command line as well. But yeah, that's cool. My VS Code extension.
Thanks again, Thomas.
Super cool.